Alright, for today, I thought of like streaming SM64, but unfortunately the controller doesn't work. So to counteract that problem, you get this, as you should. So here comes my infamous Roblox GF story, you know? Now you might be thinking, oh, how this is gonna go, like, in what way or shape or form is this like gonna be illustrated to us, the viewer? Well, I'm gonna get to that. Hold on a second. I used to be an avid Roblox role player back in the day, right? I used to go like hop on those, I guess you can call 1, 2, 3 for family type of role plays, right? And for some majority that doesn't know, kids inhabited that game quite a lot, right? So there was this like a game called Town of Roblox. It was like pretty popular back in the day because you had like a lot of things to do, like, you know, role play, drive cars, be like a doctor, anything like that. Listen, this was all happening when I was maybe like 7, 8, 9 years old. Okay, I have to put this out there. I don't remember. All I know, I was like maybe from the 1st or 4th grade, like in between that time period itself, right? Let me just paint the picture for you, just so you can understand it, right? At that time, I was in my grandma's house, and she used to have this really old PC. Like, I'm talking built in with like Windows 8 or 7. I cannot speak for the life of me. So really, back in the day, I used to play on that computer a whole bunch. Considering it was a pretty old computer, and it was like maybe 10, 12 years ago when I was like maybe 8 or 9. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. But really, the point still stands. On that old computer, I used to play a whole bunch of games like CS 1.6, you know, the usual, Half-Life. Whatever your brain could think of, like those older niche games, right? So I was introduced to the Roblox, and really, I had unrestricted internet access, so I could search up whatever the hell I wanted. As I was strolling through those Roblox games, I coincidentally found a game called Town of Robloxia, and that game had a reputation for role-playing. Now, do I remember the person who I made it? Absolutely not. I was a fucking infant back then. Like, I would just go into a game, find a random person, type into the chat 1, 2, 3 for a family roleplay or something like that. And listen, the rest was just easy work. Like, I just had to, you know, pump out a few kids, like drive a fancy car, even though it was like made of fucking plastic. So you have me talking to those, like, I guess you can call girl. When this other guy comes around, and listen, let me get this clear. Inside of that game, you could, like, pick your character to look whatever you kind of want, right? You can wear whatever you want. Like, I'm talking angel wings. You can be a fucking buff man. Whatever your heart contents. So, you know, this other guy walked in the frame, and I'm, like, side-eyeing him for a bit to see what he will do. And this motherfucker has the audacity to walk up to my B. Yes, I'm calling her my B because I, to this day, don't know her name. And this guy says 1, 2, 3 for boyfriend. And listen, I'm gonna physically demonstrate. Actually, my girlfriend in this question, like inside of Roblox, took a good look at me. And right back to the guy who asked her that. She didn't say fucking anything and left me there, right? And listen, after my supposed Roblox girlfriend walked towards this guy and got to his car and like drove away, I was fucking devastated. I was flabbergasted even. You can even just say it like that, right? And listen, I am standing alone when my jaw dropped to the table where the PC was like held, right? And all I could simply do was admit defeat and exit out of the game. This was all happening during a weekend. Maybe it was like Saturday or Sunday. Quite really, I can't remember. So Monday rolls around after this very distraughting incident. Okay, you have me walk into my classroom, taking a seat in my, you know, assigned seat, and I'm just like contemplating life choices in the 2nd or 3rd grade. Like, what the fuck just happened to me? And listen, my teacher back in the day used to do this, like, I guess you could call kind of segment where she asked us what we did over the like weekend, right? And listen, God bless her soul, she was an absolute good teacher for like us toddlers at that time, right? So people other than me were just telling what they were doing throughout the weekend. Well, I, the motherfucker, had the audacity to tell in front of the entire fucking class that my Roblox girlfriend broke up with me. Let that sink in for a second. And right now, I cannot laugh at how stupid I was because the entire fucking grade was laughing at me. And now trying to like shun it away by like pretending that wasn't real, but since people that we're like actually live in my neighborhood can be kind of weird, not gonna lie, they kind of took a liking to it. Not in a good way, of course, but they kind of fucking chuckled and laughed at me, like making fun of me, pointing fingers, like haha, hee XD, raffle, that type of like fun, making fun of someone. And listen, I really wish this type of, I guess you'd call incident, was forgotten by those same people, right? You cannot just imagine the trauma of me saying that. I would be fucking glad if those people that were present in that classroom that day forgot about the incident, because if they didn't, then I'm like digging my own grave at this point. Okay, moving past those like girlfriend stories, let me talk about the time I screamed my lungs out when I was taking a sample of my own blood, right? If I can't really remember what I went to the doctors for, but maybe I had to like get maybe my blood analysis for like the sport I was training at that time. Maybe like water polo or football. I just coincidentally happened to scream my lungs at this particular point in time. So let me set the scene. It was like maybe 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning, right? The time frame before I had to go to school. So I had to like get my blood sample, then directly after that go to school, right? I was a really fucking, I guess you could call, shy kid back in the day, right? Like, I didn't used to talk to a lot of people, and I was like afraid of a whole bunch of things, right? We were sitting in the like waiting room for the doctor, like to get our blood sample, right? I'm kind of used to getting like my blood samples taken, right? Because, you know, doctor just grabs a needle or like puts like through your veins. And listen, we were going first time to this doctor ever since we like moved out from a different neighborhood, right? After my brother got the blood sample, like, he didn't really comment on like the needle itself, so I like had this thought at the back of my mind, like saying, hey, maybe this will turn out pretty well. And you know, I'm walking inside the actual operating room to get my blood sample taken. And listen, this was a sweet woman that was taking my actual blood sample. So, you know, she grabs the little, I guess you could call it, device that gets your blood out of the middle finger. I didn't know what kind of fucking demon entered inside of me, but as soon as the needle went through my tip of the finger, like for a second, you could just hear me screaming, just like that. And listen, my father and older brother were fucking bamboozled. Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, surely could have been him, right? My brother, and as a kind, like, older brother he is, they fucking laughed at me. Like, that was so fucking funny for back in the day. I genuinely don't know what's the reason behind that. And listen, I have to admit, I kind of teared up when this happened because it fucking hurt. Like, doctor itself, when she took that device and took out my blood, she hit the fucking vein in at the top of my middle finger. I can just imagine, like, my fiddle just jittering out of motion, just how much that hurt. And you know, after she got my blood sample taken and everything, right? She, you know, just proceeded, like, to say, hey, it's over, like, nothing bad happened, shit like that, you know? So really, after I walked out of that operating room, my brother was in tears from laughing, right? So really, after I walked out of the operating room, my brother was in tears, as he should, because a needle doesn't hurt that much when you're getting your blood taken out, right? So throughout the entire day, or like for the remainder of that entire day, after I got back from school and like went to like, you know, the thing. So yeah, after that entire day, he was just making fun of me, right? I still feel kind of embarrassed from that happening. He fucking poked that, like, same situation at me to this day. Like, he still makes fun of me for that incident. It gets to a point where it just gets boring. Like, really, it gets to the point where you just stop it. It's unfunny to some point in time. Like, he still makes fun of me even to this fucking day. And listen, I'm 18 years old. I'm not scared of needles anymore. You don't need to put it in my fucking face. Goddamn. Let me tell you some stories from the actual, I guess you can call, middle school or primary school. Doesn't even matter, right? I was a lovey-dovey boy back in like maybe 5th or 6th grade, right? So for this particular story that I'm about to tell, this usually happened when I was like maybe 5th or 6th grade. And I had this girl in my class, which I kind of had a relative crush. Now, when I say a relative crush, and let me actually explain for you. In my own perspective, there can be a relative crush and an actual crush, right? Now, a relative crush can be someone you see for the first time, have been seeing for like some kind of, I guess you could call, time period. And just admit to yourself, okay, I kind of like them, you know. I'm kind of attracted to them, right? And an actual crush, you know, you talk for a bit, you know, you have a good time. Then you grow a liking to that person. So 2 separate situations, right? So, you know, during this time period, I grew a liking to this person. So, you know, as I said previously, I was a lovey-dovey boy, you know? I was that type of lover that will, like, write out messages on paper, fold them into, like, an airplane, either shoot them in their backpack, or, like, just not, like, make the plane at all. Fold a piece of paper and place inside of that backpack. So really, some people might think of this being weird or not, but listen. I had no ill intentions, nor do I do now. And listen, I thought this was like kind of sympathetic, you know, it was kind of cute. And you know, it was later until I found out she had a boyfriend. And you know, I was a pretty oblivious kid back then, you know. The world just revolved. It just happened around me. I was like kind of present to it, right? It was like maybe recess at that time, right? And I was like on my way to get some food while she waits for me and some other guy is standing next to her, right? So, you know, I'm just like standing in this like one place contemplating what to do, right? So she just straight up tells me, hey, this is my boyfriend. And he just holds out his hand so I can shake his. And obviously I'm confused. Like, as I said, I had a crush on her. So obviously I generally didn't know this piece of information, right? As I said, I was an oblivious fucking kid. So I just fucking straight up went and shook his hand, right? So obviously, that happened, right? So, you know, that kind of crush died out. Okay, I'm not saying I was devastated, right? Not to like mistake it with anything else. After that entire situation happened, like I had some eyes on me. I generally don't know what happened, but now that I look back then on what happened, I got fucking fooled. I was played, if you can call it like that. So, you know, I just like kind of strayed away from her and like didn't mind her existence at all. Just like went on my merry way, right? Okay, after that whole incident happened, I had some people telling me like, oh, you know, she was kind of a whore, she's doing that, she's like hanging out with these other boys, she's like getting with those people, and you know, I just like kind of dismissed that, but I quite frankly didn't care about her after that whole incident. Okay, now call this cruel, call this like, you know, man behavior, actually boy behavior, right? Listen, and I'll say this as many times as possible, I was an oblivious kid and a relatively shy kid at once, you know? So really, I can't put this into much better perspective than this. Okay, at this point, I'm just kind of like back tracing from like this point in time, just like going into the past and talk about like, I guess you could call it embarrassing stories, right? So I'm taking you back all the way back to kindergarten, right? So really, picture this. This was the entire situation before I even moved out to this current neighborhood I'm living in right now. And as I went to the kindergarten back in the previous neighborhood, right? And it was a pretty packed place. Like there was a whole bunch of kids. Like I'm talking like maybe, okay, I'll make this number up on the spot, don't kill me for it, but it was maybe like 50 or 60 kids, like separated into different groups based on like their age range, right? Shit like that. I had this like, okay, now this is gonna sound very weird when I put it like this, but there was this like one autistic kid inside of my kindergarten. Now listen, I'm not saying this to be ableist or anything, right? But listen, this kid had some problems, like some mental deficiencies, which caused him to bully other kids inside of that kindergarten, right? As I was the main target for that like bullying acts that you usually just like did inside that kindergarten, right? So as I said, this kid was obviously targeting me because I was relatively petite. I was small. An easy target to bully. I used to hang around with everyone. Like, I was friendly to everybody who I met. Like, we built Lego bricks, you know. Okay, maybe you had this, like, thing in your, like, I guess you can call it kindergarten back then. But you had these, like, wooden blocks that you would, like, stack on top of each other and make, like, houses and everything, right? And let me actually demonstrate how he did it. So imagine there was this, like, I guess you can call a wooden structure made out of those like wooden blocks. As we were building them, he just straight up barged into them. Like he just straight up broke them up. And he just ran away, like laughing or something. I don't even know. And obviously he thought that was funny. Well, the other kids, including me, were in tears because he was like ruining our playtime. And listen, I had this very exact situation when I was playing with my Legos. Like I maybe brought like, I guess you can call 6 or 7 Lego figurines back to like the kindergarten because listen, I was and I still am a Lego enthusiast. You know, hit me up. So, you know, I was playing with my figures and everything, right? When the bully itself comes around. And I'm not gonna give him a name just for like private purposes because why the fuck not? He just like stands in front of me and he just like, you know, inspects what I'm doing. And I look back at him and just like waiting for the moment to like run away, considering he's pretty known for like bullying other kids because of his condition, right? It was like a standoff. My friends were watching me. I was watching him. The bully was watching me. It was like a ticking time bomb before something went off. And I was wearing like a zip-up hoodie back then, right? So let me put this into motion how this just went, right? Like crouching down, playing with my figures. He grabbed the collar of my hoodie with like the zip up everything, right? He pulled me back up. He just like started just like shaking the living fuck out of me, right? And you know, I was pretty fucking scared. Like I just dropped the figures out of my hand, right? He just didn't know what to do. And before you even know it, this guy just fucking slammed me into the ground and started choking me. Like, listen, I wish I could be making this up. This actually happened. I was laying on the fucking floor, with like my Lego figures dropped to the side, and I was just like trying to push him up because listen, he was a pretty chubby kid with glasses and everything, right? And I could not push him off me for the life of me, right? So I was fucking gasping for air at this point. I thought I could like get suffocated. And of course, the other people that were witnessing this happened like ran to the caretakers to tell everything what happened. The teachers fucking saw this. And I have to admit it, I was a pretty likable kid by those caretakers at the kindergarten. So I kind of fuck with them and they kind of fuck with me. So we came up to like a sort of agreement. So really, after that whole incident happened, right, with the whole fucking kid being on top of me, almost chucking the life out of me, they pushed him aside and put him into this like detention room, right? I was gasping for my air at that point, right? Like, listen, both parents and kids at that time knew what they were doing. And my mother actually complained to the caretakers to like get a hold of him to like, put him to like a different kind of like program, if you can call it. I don't even know. At the time I was moving the stuff out of my house, I kind of like at that point like finished kindergarten altogether. Okay, a little fast forward from that situation where I kind of left kindergarten. At that time I was 10 years old, right? And I went back to visit my kindergarten with both my older brother and my mother, right? Like, caretakers recognized me right off the bat because I had such a recognizable face. They were just like walking up to me and greeting me. And what do you know? At the end of that like second hallway where the whole like table is laid out and like the villain he is sitting at like the back of the entire room, like eating his shit. Think of this as like a Marvel scene. Like, let's say Iron Man meeting Doctor Doom. I know, a broad example, something that probably happened in comics. I don't know, I did not read Marvel comics, but I probably will at some point. So really, this is turning into a standoff. Like me standing at the entrance point of the room where people like other kids are eating, and me like staring my soul into that bully, right? Caretaker, which was like standing next to him, and she like kind of knew me. As soon as I noticed him and she like noticed I was present in the room itself, she said, "Hey, do you recognize that kid which you kind of bullied?" And yes, she put that into exact words as I just said. He slowly takes up a look at me and takes a little few seconds to reprocess that information and says, "Wait, who are you?" As I said, he has a condition. Maybe he doesn't even remember it. Maybe he was like doing maniacally or like, just for the fuck of it, right? And I'm just standing there with the most angry expression ever as a kid that I possibly could have at that time. And now I'm just like staring him down. And I said, "Good grief," for some unexplicit reason. And we just, after I left out that room and like after I confronted him, like I was talking to the caretakers and I took my leave. And to this day, I have no fucking idea what happened to him. So yeah, I had a pretty rough childhood. The thing I said I need water.